make sure you grab different color spray paints, different size thread edges, and everyday household items like cups or lids. My name is Arturo Lopez, and I created Spraycasso Studios back in 1999. I have then continued to show people diverse ways of creating master paintings in just a few minutes using nothing more than just spray paints and everyday household items. The beauty of this art is that you don't have to have a steady hand or know how to draw. All it requires is a little bit of imagination and some dedication. So join us, and you too can become a Spraycasso master. I will walk you through diverse techniques of creating beginner level paintings, intermediate level paintings and techniques, advanced level paintings, and we'll take your skills even further to master level paintings. So if you guys are ready to embark into a new art adventure, then grab your spray paints and materials. Let's get started. Hi everyone, Arturo Spraycasso here. So for this next tutorial, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm sure you guys have all been in Chinese restaurants, right? You go for the buffet, which, if you guys didn't know that, I'm there a lot. Probably explain some of this, huh? Alright, well, this is what we're going to be using for our medium. Yeah, this is a calendar, and it's got, you know, already some drawings in the back. It tells you the dates. Oh, right here, tells you the dates. And they're pretty awesome, right? It tells you the name of the restaurant on the bottom. Well, we're going to be using the back side, this side. So if you guys, you know what, I think you can also get these already blank at Hobby Lobby, if I'm not mistaken. I know there's a couple places, but they give you guys these for free if you go to these restaurants. So next time you go to one of these all-you-can-eat buffet restaurants, ask for one of these. They're made out of paper, so they're really cheap, you know, for them to hand out. So anyways, get you one of these, and this is what we're going to be using for our next tutorial. Get your caulk. We're going to need a caulk. This is going to be a 3D tutorial. And some, I think it's called foliage, and you guys can find that at any arts and crafts store. It comes in a little bag, and is used to make the effect of trees, maybe some plant life on the ground. I'll show you as the tutorial begins. We're going to need some of that. And plenty of poster board. You're going to need this because we're going to glue this to the back of a poster board. Alright, if you guys are ready, grab your spray paints. Here's how we begin. Alright crew, what I've done here is I went ahead and with a little bit of a spray adhesive, I went ahead and glued the calendar on its reverse side to this poster board in the back. And I went ahead with a little bit of caulk and just added a streak of caulk through it. I'm going to give the effect that this is a cherry blossom tree. This is very oriental. You can see this in many oriental paintings as well as oriental designs. And what I'm doing here with the Spraycasso tool is I'm blending the caulk together and giving the effect of tree branch, you know, tree bark. Just going up and down several places. The tool that you'll probably be using will get clumpy and the effect is not as good, so I recommend you clean it often, and that's what I did here just now. And I'm going up and down to give it the bark effect, and it'll take several tries, guys. It'll, you know, you'll get to a point where you'll be pretty satisfied, and that's when you can move on. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so sometimes I go over it, you know, plenty of times until it looks realistic enough for me. Okay. Okay, now here we're gonna go ahead and overlap our branch with another branch. I'm gonna try and zoom in a little bit so you guys can see how I do this. And the way I'm doing is I'm making this branch a little thicker than the first one because I want it to be overlapping. Alright, so it's thick on the part that I want to overlap, and then it gets a little thinner here on the top. Now with the Spraycasso tool, I'm just going to go ahead, and you see how there's 3 layers of caulk? Well, I'm going to kind of get rid of that little dividing lines in between and just start doing the bark effect. Go up and down a couple of times and make it look as realistic as you possibly can. Alright, it's going to take a couple tries. Now remember, when your tool starts getting clampy, or clumpy I should say, with all this extra caulk. Just clean it off. Use a little piece of paper. I don't know if I recommend a little rag or anything like that, because then the rag you won't be able to use it afterwards. So what I recommend is a little piece of paper and just kind of clean it off there, or if you have some sort of a little straight edge. Alright, just gonna go about it a couple of times. And as I mentioned earlier, guys, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I'm gonna go about it a couple of times here until I feel, or in this case until you feel, is realistic enough. See? There you go. That looks pretty good. What we're going for here, guys, is a realistic look. So single line caulk is what I'm calling it for now. It just means I'm just doing this thinner branches with a single line of caulk. Right? So I'm trying to give the effect. I actually went on Google and looked up a bunch of cherry blossom trees to see what they look like, make sure I was consistent with the patterns, and I do believe I am. So I'm just going to create another little branch right here. Alright, just like that. Now, as I was mentioning earlier, guys, you're going to want to go to the store, like a hardware store, and they sell this adhesive that comes in levels. Yeah, you can get level 66 adhesive. It's pretty strong, you know, but not as strong as level 90, and that's what I got for this one. Now, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to glue your oriental calendar to your poster board in the back. And then when you're done, we're going to go over it and cut it out. Now I'm going to show you what happened here. This is actually a mistake that I did. I tried getting closer to my painting as I was making the bark effect here with my spraycasso tool, and I accidentally hit it with my knee. And so I went ahead and I left that here on the video so that you guys can see that you can mess up, but everything is fixable, guys. You see a little piece of paper to my right? Bam, there you go. Crap. Look at that. See, I should have glued it. Again, it comes with the territory of experimentation. I should have glued it first before working on the tree branches. Well, that little piece of paper to my right, that's what I was using to clean my spraycasso tool. So that little caulk that was on there, that's excess caulk. And that's what I used to go over it and, you know, fix this branch. So something to keep in mind, guys. If you're going to do something like this, go ahead and glue it first. I got a level 90 spray can adhesive. It's really strong stuff. I put it down and I didn't have this problem after that. So keep that in mind when doing something like this. Alright, now I'm just going to go over these single line caulks that we did here for the tree branches and make them look as realistic as possible by doing the bark effect. I know it's not quite the same. It's got the same concept as the spray paint bark effect. See right here, I'm cleaning the tool. It's got a little clumpy. It's got the same concept, but it's a little bit different, right? Different media. Alright, just going to go over it a couple of times and make it look pretty realistic. This is actually on the floor, guys, because I didn't have a big enough table to do this on. Alright, just going to go over it a couple of times. In this part, we went ahead and we've already connected that secondary branch line that I did here on the left. And I'm just going to add a little bit of blue. Now, I'm not going to paint the entire calendar in the back. I'm just adding thin layers of blue. So it'll be kind of like a very pastel-like color, you know, and it's just going to fade into the background. I suppose you can do darker colors, but for the effect that I was looking for, I decided to stay with baby blue, real pastel kind of color. Alright, and I had the camera zoom in so that you guys can see the detail on the bark of this tree. See that? Alright, so yes, it's okay if you color over the caulk. Now keep in mind, I actually let this dry for a little bit. I recommend a full day, 12 hours if possible. I know that I've seen a couple paintings out there and you guys are kind of hurrying it. But you get better effect, guys, if you wait until the caulk is completely dry. Now in this next part, we're going to go ahead and we're using a combination of brown with red and blue. Now I couldn't tell you the combination exactly as I was just mixing it. you know, based on what I wanted this tree to look like. Anyways, it has a really nice dark, almost like cherry wood look and feel to it. It's really dark and almost has like a little red tint. It's really awesome. Now another question you guys are probably gonna say, wow, Spraycasso, you got really nice hands. Why, thank you. No, I actually, my friend Carolina was here with me, and she is actually really good at drawing, guys, and painting and stuff. So I took a little break, and she was kind enough to help me to finish this, coloring this bark in. Now, see what she's doing here, and this is a really good idea, because I would have used the Spraycasso funnel, but it takes a little bit of practice to control the paint. So what she did is she had me mix the colors on a spray paint cap based on the colors that I wanted, right? So it has brown, red, and blue. And once I had the color I wanted, she got a little piece of paper and dipped it into it, and she seems to be coloring this really nice. In fact, I think I'm gonna I have to thank her for this, and I think this is a technique I'll be using from now on. It was actually very easy to use, and I found out you use a lot less paint that way. The funnel actually works pretty good to cover areas, and it'll look really nice too, but it uses a little bit more paint and you have to be more careful because you're throwing more paint into it. This technique is a little more time consuming. You guys know me, I'm all about doing it quickly, so but you know what, you spend a little more time on it and it came out really great. I was really pleased with it, so I'm going to be using this more often, and I recommend you guys try it. See, I zoomed the camera out so you guys can see the little spray paint cap there on the side. Alright, and what you're going to want to do is make sure, and if you're going to use the little piece of paper technique here that we're doing, you're going to make sure that you go around all the places in the colic. Otherwise you're going to miss a couple spots and it'll look white. That's something that with the funnel, it's a little quicker, it'll cover all the spots, but I've noticed you use a little more spray paint. So this technique is actually, you know, pretty good. You just have to make sure you cover some of the spots that you might have missed. And if you're gonna do this, also kind of keep in mind how many sprays of brown, how many sprays of red you used. We run out of brown halfway through this, and luckily I don't mean to brag about myself, but I remembered how I did it, and I remember the color exactly, and you know, a couple tries later we came up with the same color and finished the tree. So if we're gonna do something like this, you know, kind of estimate how much paint you're gonna need. And if not, just keep in mind, you know, I did two sprays of brown, it was one spray of red, one spray blue, kind of mixed them together, and then I needed it a little bit more red, so I added another spray of red. Kind of kept the formula in my head, you know. Anyways, I've always encouraged you guys to mix your own colors anyways. Alright, now here, this material here you can actually buy for model kits. If you guys are into like making little train stations, and I don't know, there's a lot of people out there that like to make little models of trains and terrain and stuff like that. So I went to Hobby Lobby, and I think it was called the foliage pack, and you can actually add glue to this and add it to little miniature plastic trees, and it looks like tree leaves. And I really liked it, so I got a bunch of it. As you can see, it only comes in green. So I'm using a pink color spray paint that I had. Otherwise I would have made it myself, guys, but I happen to have this small can laying around, and I figured, hey, you know what, otherwise to make pink, guys, I would have used red and white. Now this given is not quite exactly pink, it's a little more like fluorescent pink. It was really nice. So I just colored it. Now see how I'm actually moving it around, get some more green spots, spray paint it, move it around, see some more green, spray paint it, move it around, repeat it until it's completely pink. See that? And to tell the truth, guys, I was actually surprised. Every time I flip it over, I was like, what? I just spray painted it. Alright, well, here we go. And then I spray paint it, and then I move it a little bit, and bam, there was green again. So I was borderline about to just spray paint a bunch of pink in one bowl and like submerge the entire little sponge. I don't know how that would have turned out, to tell the truth, but anyways, it's a little time consuming. And this is what's going to be our little cherry blossom flowers that the tree has. So anyways, as you can see, it was a little bit of time consuming. What I did is I actually waited for them to dry, and off on the side on the same plate I added some of that adhesive that I was telling you about earlier, that spray adhesive, and then I would dip the little foliage into it and then glue it onto the painting. This painting probably took about 2 days to complete because most of that time was drying time. First I had to wait for the color to dry, then I had to wait for the little foliage to dry, that color. And actually here I actually added a little bit extra pink once the foliage was dry. And yeah, you're probably going to want to make sure it's completely dry before you do that, because then the pink will get stuck on your fingers and then you'll really have a hard time putting the foliage down. And then you have to be very careful that if you get some of that pink on your fingers, you don't touch your painting. And that was pretty hard, guys. Believe me, that was pretty hard, especially since I'm having to put all my weight you know, on your hands, especially when you have to put yourself in awkward positions to put some of this foliage down. And you don't want to accidentally touch your painting with that. So, alright, adding a little bit of foliage here. And you want to do it just in random spots throughout this painting. You don't want to stick to just one side. You want to make it pretty even. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick zoom so you guys can get the fine detail of this, what it looks like up close. Now we went ahead and cut it out with an X-Acto knife. Alright crew, and after you cut it up, this is what you get. Just put a little nail on the wall somewhere, hang it up just like you would anything else. And take a look at that. I really enjoy that little light fade of blue into the background, and it's just a really unique piece, guys. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's tutorial. I look forward to your questions and comments. You can leave them right here below on my YouTube page, or you can go to my Facebook and look me up there. Alright crew, well, until next time, keep those cans shaking.